Happy New Year. Hopefully everyone had a wonderful holiday. Oh, Brandy, how are you doing, guys?
Amazing.
Wonderful. Silent O, you're on mute.
Hello.
Hello, cheerio. So, before we get into the reefing, how was everyone's Christmas/New Year's?
The best one ever.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I like it.
My older kid just adores the baby, and there was nobody argued, nobody fought. Like, I don't think we've ever had a Christmas like that. It was just absolutely perfect.
Magical.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I don't know how to beat that. I mean, my Christmas was okay.
Was
My
it quite
kids
as magical?
fought. We got sick.
Beautiful.
We were in Toronto. We got sick. It was okay.
Nice.
We were
Well,
sick too, but
yeah, it
maybe that's why
happens.
nobody was fighting. Everybody was isolating.
That's the peaceful secret. Everyone's sick, isolating, taking it easy, extra peaceful.
Everybody was staying like in different rooms.
Well, that's extra peaceful then. Oh. So people always have their New Year's resolutions, and we figure it'd be fun to talk about kind of reefer resolutions. Are you going to be better this year? Are you going to continue on what you're doing? Are you going to up your reefing game a little bit? Every year we always say it, but are you actually going to do it? So yeah, I don't know, Brandy, what do you think for this year? Do you have any Brandy reefer resolutions to up your
I
reefing game?
always get better. Well, let's see. The tank looks incredible compared to some of the previous years. There's no hair algae everywhere. I don't have dinos all over the place. The corals are growing. The colors look amazing. The fish are begging for food constantly. So
Sounds pretty
did
good.
you just part?
Yeah, I give you all the love.
So I'm hopeful that this year is going to be really good for the tank because I'm not going into the year with nasty stuff all over my tank I got to deal with.
That's a good start. So have you been doing anything differently that's made your tank happy?
I'm not pregnant, so
That
I can
helps.
actually reach the tank.
Nope.
It's very hard to reach the bottom of that tank normally, even when I don't have a baby in my belly. But when I was pregnant, like I could only get like the top 6 inches. So anything below that was going to hang out.
That's fair. Now, did you find your tank was happier with your hands in the tank less, or was it just neglected because it was a pain to do maintenance, so you just didn't do it?
Yeah, the corals, like I didn't lose any coral or anything, but I had hair algae everywhere and dinos everywhere. Just because I couldn't get to it to try and clean it. At some point, the snails and urchins aren't going to keep up, and you have to manually go in and deal with it. And once I was able to manually go in and deal with it, it's cleared up and it's been fine. So
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. How about you? How's your tank for the start of the year? How's it starting off?
I think it's fine. I think
can we see it?
some early design choices. Oh no, my chair. Some early design choices are. Oh man, the glass is dirty. Some early design choices are starting to. I I came today to say, hey guys, like I'm gonna leave the tank alone this year, and of course I have like a big blob of rock prepared to change aquascape. So the tank is doing fine. A design choice a couple years ago. Just I need to rectify. So the rock is too high.
Mm-hmm.
And as I saw your tank, and then I watched what is it, Reef Bum, and I'm looking at Greg, and I'm just looking at a lot of tanks. I'm only a year in, and I have staghorns that are like 6 inches from the surface.
Yeah.
So I made terrible decisions when it came to just rock. And, when the tank was empty, the rock was just too high.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I have to go in and I have to I was gonna go in. I bought a saw, and I was gonna go in there and saw it. Which, don't laugh. It sounds like a madman. And then I just decided to just like buy new rock. So I'm gonna change half the aquascape. So
Nice.
yes, Brandy, I was gonna go in. I literally like ordered a. First, it was like Dupree gave me like a circular saw, and then I bought a rotozip, and then I was gonna rent a circular saw, and then it was an articulating saw, and then I just decided you're a madman and don't do any of that, and
Okay.
then just get new rock.
I was
Last
about to say, this is
last
starting
week,
to sound like
yeah, last week when we talked, he was ready to drain his water down, put some plastic around the edges, and go in there with like a basically a cutoff saw and start hacking his rock. I'm like, that's so sketchy. Like, what if you hit something at the glass and your tank's
do you remember the last time he started doing that and it ended up like you broke like 3 tanks in one day or something?
You know, when you have traumatic experiences and you sort of bury them deep in the back of the brain, and then
repressed
unfortunately
memories?
someone brings them up. But and no, I'm not Brandy. I'm not joking. I'm
Oh,
not
you've
joking.
done this before. You know
This-
this is not a good idea. Leave the tank alone. Don't cut stuff.
Well, so I'm not going to cut it, but I am going to change half the aquascape and just lower. It's to lower it. I really do need the space, and
In my opinion, you should have at least a third of it water column, you know, and if you're going to be acro heavy, you know, even shoot for half and you're pretty good.
yeah. So that's. I think that's it. I think.
How high is your rock? Can you move your chair again? When you
Yeah.
move, the chair does.
Do you see the staghorns? Yeah. Do you see this millipora colony that's like? So yes, and it's only I'm only a year and a half in, and so by next year. And by the way, this stuff is just taking off now. So by next year, they're going to be out the water surface. So yeah.
You know what though? I was actually at someone's house. I'll have to go back and film a video one day. But he had a bunch of stags and like a nano tank, and it's funny, the top of them were just all like flat little shelves almost. Like all the tips like mushroomed out and flattened. It was kind of interesting to see it at the top. So you could have one of
I
those.
approve of down.
Yeah, I agree. Going
Sorry.
down.
Yeah.
In the chat, one of the resolutions is not to let the dosing run empty. Yeah, I'm guilty of that one too.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Now, that doesn't every pump nowadays like tell you like how much volume you have left?
But you have to like look at it.
Oh.
If you ignore it
Mm.
and keep ignoring it.
And you have to tell it how much you're starting with for it to calculate it. But yeah, you also have to look at it. I had the same issue recently with trace elements where a bunch of them ran out. How long ago? Nobody knows.
I have another New Year's resolution, and
Yes.
this is my tank. I don't know if this is a man. I was watching an old Tidal Gardens video and about the tank being quiet. I don't know if it's because all the equipment is so quiet now that there are some little things that irk me. Like I hear the Alcatronic because it's the loudest thing on my tank. Everything else is silent. So my skimmer is not DC, and the Alcatronic, if you guys hear it in the background now, it annoys the heck out of me. So everything else is dead quiet. You cannot hear the tank. But then every now and again, 4 times a day, the Alcatronic tests. It annoys me. And then at night, the skimmer. And again, it's quiet, but because everything else, it's not loud, but because everything else is so quiet.
You notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that
Welcome.
one last little thing that just gets on your nerve. And it shouldn't annoy me that much. But
Yeah, the auto testers are by far my loudest thing now. I've been on this rabbit hole for years of trying to make the tank quieter and quieter and quieter. So I understand. I feel you. Makes me happy to hear that you're also on
Yeah.
my crazy journey.
yeah. So I am going to get that new Hydros controller with the IV thing because I think that'll be quieter than the Alcatronic hoot. It is. I'm gonna mute because it is going to. It's testing now. It's at the.
I can barely
reagent.
hear it.
Oh, but I hear it.
So
Well, muting isn't going to help you.
You know what? You're right.
it's
I
true.
love
You'll still
you.
hear it. Yeah, we can barely hear it. So one, you should totally get the little silent kit, which is basically just like little foamy things that go around the motor. It does help. And the other thing is too, if the screws that are touching it, they have little rubber grommets. If they're touching the plastic, it vibrates and makes it really loud. And if you can like move them down just like a millimeter, so they're like kind of floating in the middle, it makes it way quieter. I'm assuming that you're probably getting the resonance through the plastic, so that will help it. Because I remember like many moons ago, I did that on mine.
Did it make a significant difference?
Yes, if the screws are touching the plastic, it is substantially louder.
Okay. My bedroom is behind this wall, and I made the mistake of mounting it to the wall. God, I got up in the middle of the night and almost ripped that thing off the wall.
Yeah.
Did your about kill you too?
Well, I was gonna leave that out, but
Yep.
You sure? Maybe she's used to loud noises.
Do you I think we talked about this last week, but I laughed because about a month ago I had Thomas on my stream and he was saying that his wife complained about like the trident noise in the middle of the night, and I was like, mine too. So I actually like changed when it tests, and I'm like, here you go. So I helped him, like, hey, your wife will be happier now. But I just laughed because I'm like, I had the exact same thing I had to deal with.
yep, 10 o'clock. And the trident is not loud, but it makes this really squeaky. So I changed mine to 10 in the morning, 10 at night.
Yeah, mine's like 7:45.
Fan said sound control is a never-ending battle. Like,
It's true.
the level of quiet in his place is insanity. Like,
I know. It's good.
my
I'm jealous.
extinguisher sounds dead. Like, half the time I don't think that the pumps are working. It's still better than Stan's place, and he has like 200 pumps in there.
Oh, it's living the dream over there. That's pretty awesome.
I had a Vectra, and I thought it was quiet, and then I got my hands on the Biz, and oh my gosh, that thing is... I don't think I heard... I think that's where I was like, ooh, this is different. So it made a big difference.
Yeah. Chewy, my trident is in a closet along with the dose. That definitely helps. Do you I made a little bracket for the Versa to hang on my tank, so getting ready. I'm gonna try the Alpha Reef soon. If anyone's tried it, Oh and I were talking about last week. Brandy, have you used Alpha Reef?
Actually, when I did have a second tank, a 15-gallon tank, I used Alpha Reef.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think it for a small tank it works really, really well. I think if it was a bigger tank that I was using Alpha Reef on, it would get very expensive very quickly.
I could see that.
Like that, like squeeze mechanism, and like you don't have to keep any pipettes or anything next to it. It's an all-in-one thing and not messy and clean. There's lots of reasons to like it.
That makes sense.
Now it's cheaper because you have the powdered one and you mix it, and it is cheaper. However, I think on big tanks, once you get to the 60, 70, 80 mils a day, when your tank is like, Brand, if your tank is grown out and you're using it, I think that's where it gets weird in the numbers. I don't understand the scientific process, and Devin was explaining it to me last week, but the numbers just never caught up. I kept dosing and dosing
It's
and
a
dosing.
delayed thing.
Yeah, it just never caught up. And there's some delayed process where, like, the calcium, I always say metastasized, but that's not it. And don't laugh at me. But something happens.
It's because it uses calcium formate, and it's a bit of a weird delayed reaction thing until it tests. So if you don't test right away, you just like give it some time, it kind of works out. So my mad scientist the other night, I designed a little bracket that goes in the back of the Versa, so I can hang it on the side of the Nano.
Oh,
just
nice.
either on the back or the side, because I only have one pump to do all my dosing. But with Alpha Reef too, if you do the powder DIY, then it's way cheaper.
Right?
Pardon?
The nano tank, you're talking about that BRS tank, right?
Yeah, maybe, probably. The Hello Reef one, the one on my desk that I'm turning to a Gaudi tank. So much love.
Who's doing our parts? Is that you?
Wait, how did you just get the thing to do that?
Much love.
I was thinking that hard.
Wait, how did you get the bubble thingy?
I was thinking that hard.
No.
Yeah, that's a really nice little setup. The fact that you, like, someone should 3D print that and sell it.
Maybe I will. But yeah, I basically just remodeled the little bracket, made my own version that hangs on a tank. And it's just, put on a sump or whatever out of the way, nice and clean. It's good.
Brilliant. I love it. You're genius.
I like the 4-pack for the Versa, except I want to be able to turn them off individually. So if there's something where you can mount the 4-pack and still use the individual power supplies, that I would be interested in.
You could make one.
The
But
Versa comes with a nice.
then why do you even need the mounting bracket? Just mount them all side by side and you have the same thing and save the money on buying a bracket.
Yeah, but when I have to mount, listen, I can get one correct, one straight, and looking neat. By the time I get to the third one, the first two will look acceptable. By the
Do you
time I
want me
get to
to
the
design
third
you a
one,
bracket to hold
it's
4 of these in a
cracked.
row?
Yes. By the time
That's
I get to
doable.
the fourth one or the third one, it started to either bend up or bend down. And then you take a step back and they don't look correct. Like, mounting is hard.
I will design you a bracket.
Oh, this is why we're friends with Dev, because he's so smart.
Like we
Yes.
can make a little bracket, and if I put a little bit of thought into it, we can make it modular, so you can just extend it for as little as many as you want, and then they'll line up perfectly.
I
And
still
it'll
have
the
my
Dev-
sprinkles for you.
life shape.
Making presents for all of his friends.
Remind me later. I already spent the time to design this, so it won't be too hard. Just add some kind of a way to interlock and extend it. It's doable. So I'm trying hard to keep the nano as simple as possible. I don't know if anyone watched my video, but I added 4 Gonnies that I got from Fragbox the other day, which is pretty sweet. And then I ordered 7 more, which I'll have next week. So
How big is this tank?
I don't know, 14, 15 gallons.
Oh, that's big.
A lot of Ghanies.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I just want the whole thing to be a rainbow of Gonnies. That's my goal.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. I've wanted to do a
Gorgeous.
Gonnie tank for ages. So
So is that your
resolution
new
1. One of them started Gonnie tank and keep it simple. I'm trying to make myself not overcomplicate it. That's why I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna one dosing pump. That's it. I wasn't even gonna dose. I was just gonna do water changes, but I got sucked in.
Is there going to be a controller on this tank?
Not yet.
Oh, so simple.
I thought I might just not and keep it simple. I feel like I need a contrast, like opposing to the super high tech tank, and then just like super basic. It's hard, but I'm gonna try.
Okay, well, good luck with that. I've given up.
It's possible I'll break down, but I'm gonna try. So
Do you have an ATO on it?
yes. I lasted a month
So-
without it, and then I was like, "Can't need one." That's it, though.
I
That's
just
it.
ordered the new Toonsy 3. Toonsy?
Mhm.
For my little tank that is still dry, that hopefully will not be dry for very long, because I know that I cannot do any tanks without an auto top off.
It wasn't. Go for it.
I was gonna say I got one of those little, I think Coral View sells them, the Dymax little 7-gallon nano that I set up, and I ordered the lid for it, and it's the lid, you know, like how what they call the Fluval will have a lid, but it has a slit and open in the middle. So I bought a lid, and even though it's not fully covered, it just it just reduced the surface area by about, let's say, 80%. I'm surprised by how much it reduced the evaporation. Just a cover, even with holes in the top. So I did set up like a 7-gallon nano. I was gonna plumb it into the main system, but right now it's just sitting beside it. But it is.
Are we all going to start small tanks this year?
Nice. I've already started mine like a month ago.
Mine has water. There's no corals yet, but yeah.
Look at
My-
that small tank club.
That's exciting.
I know. Isn't it funny how we start in the hobby small, then we go really big, and then you have a big one, and you kind of want a small one again?
Before I started this tank, like my dream tank was like a 300-gallon tank, and now I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't ever want anything bigger than this. In fact, smaller than this would be better.
Yeah.
Shorter though. I like the length, but just
See-
not so.
Oddly, I would still go bigger, but I'd want longer and shallower. I like the linear real estate for stuff. Or same thing, I'd like more width.
I would like more width.
Mhm.
I definitely don't want it as deep because
Yeah.
I already talked about that. I don't know that I'd want to go longer though.
You know, like I look at mine sometimes. I was like, oh, if I had an extra foot, it'd look sweet. If If I had the right place, like it'd be cool to have, like a big like linear in-wall tank, but have that depth. Or if you had like a corner of a house where two walls were in wall and the other room was like normal. I don't know. I think that'd be a cool look. It'd be more of a pain to maintain. But if you had like a sump room and all that fun
How
stuff, it would
long
have been
is your
better.
tank? You have two tanks. They're
Yes.
both 6 feet, right?
One's longer than 6. One's like 6'7" or something like that. It's like an O laying down.
Yeah, I think this one is 6 feet, and I'm like, that's long enough.
I think 6 is about the limit.
Yeah.
The Greg's tank is 36 inches front to back, and I like that. So
That is nice.
I would go maybe 20 inches, but yeah, I think that's what would work for me. But I would never do a 4 or 500. If I have like, let's say 200 gallons, 250-ish, if I want something else, I would set up more tanks. So if I get old and tired, I can take one down. When you have a big 500, I think that just becomes a lot.
Yeah. Or just do a bunch of nanos and keep it simple.
That's not simple.
You don't think so?
No.
I
You
don't
know what's
know.
really simple?
Mine's
I
pretty
keep
easy
telling
so far.
Ben, I'm like, I'm just going to take over one of his big show tanks. I'm like, this is the most simple way to do it. It's like a 600-gallon tank, and I'm just going to claim it as mine and just going to start putting corals in it. And he's going to be like, WTF, Brandy, where did this come from?
It's not a bad
That's
idea.
just the simplest way. Get someone else to take care of the tank.
It's a not bad way to do it.
Yeah, it's too many. It can take over your life sometimes. But
You mean like
you're talking
YouTube and reef tanks?
you're talking about the people who fly across the country and the world to
Like you.
go to shows and, well, look in the mirror, Brandy. Look
All
in
of
the
us?
mirror.
I have not flown as far as you have. You go a long ways for shows.
I have to. It's the only option.
You too. I'm only like, when we're going cross country, like I'm only an hour behind you.
I've never been to California.
You never? Huh.
Not for a show.
Devin,
I guess Dev
I
was
haven't been for a show
international.
either. Okay.
and that's the closest show to you. I'm dumbfounded. Like, you go from the west coast of Canada to the southeast. So from the continent, unless you're going to the Arctic Circle, I don't think there's any more different opposite spots of the continent of North America you can do, Devin. And the California show is right there. It's just a hop, skip away.
Yeah, maybe this year. Next year. We'll see.
Brandy, I like the California show. It's a different vibe.
So,
I do like it. And I think because it came out of the SCMAS, the club members are there. I think it's a different vibe. I like it.
Yeah.
all my friends are there.
Okay. So question. So in the comments, someone was like, "Hey, nanos, another challenge. Do you think nanos are easier, harder than big tanks?"
Easier. When we start, I'm easier. When we started the hobby, at least when I started 10-ish years ago, the thought process was go big or go home because, and you would get all these reasons. Now, my nano can be neglected. And you do a big like you could do a 100% water change, and no matter what issue it's having, no matter what you think it has, high nitrate, something's not doing, coral's not looking good, it's easy to do a 100% water change, and you've done reset it back to 0. So for that reason,
Agreed.
I like it. I wouldn't make an SPS nano.
But
Yes.
when I had my water box, not my water box, my BioCube, I once did a water change with water where the salinity was like 1.008. Yeah, right? So in this big tank, if I did a 10% water change with that, it's not going to be great, but it's not going to be awful. But in my BioCube, you can very quickly mess things up, and you can very quickly overdose, and you can very quickly, might be able to fix things easily, but you can also mess them up very quickly too.
Yeah.
And also the utilitarian fish that you have available are much narrower in variety.
Fair.
That is fair. And that's why I don't think I can do a nano with any sort of highlight corals, because what that intense lighting promotes algae growth. And you're right. Like, there are no tangs you can put in a nano tank. There are no, you're limited.
I mean, yes, but there is small creatures. Like I added a fighting conch to mine, which has been amazing because I had, all the diatoms all over the sandbed. I had my little conch in. 2 days later, my sandbed's back to pristine again. So, I mean, there's just different creatures, right? You could use a pincushion urchin. Those guys are ferocious algae eaters if you have an algae issue in a nano. So there's other options, right? They're just different. I do agree, though, on the...
Equal.
Like, a 5-gallon bucket water change is like a massive water change on a nano. So it's quick and easy. You can do it in, a couple minutes, and then your tank's pretty much back to happy. So I think that is like a huge buffer for a nano.
I have one more negative to a nano, and maybe it's just an O thing. Whenever I stick my hands in it, waterfall comes out. I don't.
That's amazing.
My very dude, my very first tank was a fluval edge, where it's like up to the millimeter. Every time I put my hand in it, water would like spill out. I had to like drain some out first. It was such a pain, but it looked cool. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. Now I have tongs, and I'm sitting there like because I can't even use chopsticks, so I'm sitting there like.
We all need bananas for like reference, because both Dev and O are like really tall people and I'm not. So
we'll get those mini bananas and bring them when we do it. Extra scale.
AirPods for reference.
I have an AirPod somewhere. Kind of like this big on my hand.
This big. That's funny. So random. Okay, so I don't know. I still think nanos are pretty dang easy in comparison. They're cheap. They're easy. You don't need a skimmer. I get asked all the time what skimmer for nano. I don't think it's worth putting a skimmer on a nano personally. I wouldn't bother because the nano skimmers never work well.
Oh, that's nice. I did have
it's
gallon
5
water
gallons,
box set up. That also have a 1 gallon Elos tank that I've never set up. That's just sitting on my desk. And 1 gallon, yeah.
Tiny.
But my 15 gallon was really bad. But I think it was just because I had it upstairs in a room I didn't go into very often. So it just out of sight, out of mind is a major problem for me.
Yeah.
I blame it on the size of the tank, but it was probably just me forgetting it existed.
Well, I don't know. Tanks should be in somewhere that you spend lots of time, right? You need to enjoy it. And again, if it's somewhere you never look at, you're going to neglect it. So, office, living room, somewhere where you spend lots of time is because it makes you want to keep it pristine all the time, right? Which again makes for a happier tank and then a happier reefer.
Is that your baby crying or mine, Dev?
Not mine.
Okay, it's fine.
Might be yours. Do you find urchins go after bubble algae? I don't think so, but I haven't had bubble algae and urchin at the same time, so I'm not 100%. They go after coralline and hair and all kinds of other algae. Sorry, Brandy, go ahead.
I think they might. I think it might depend on the urchin. I just suspect they don't all go after it, but I've seen where people, I don't know if they're actually eating the bubble algae or if they're just picking it up to like decorate themselves with it, but I do think sometimes they mess with it.
It is quite fashionable, so probably true.
The
bubble suit. Bubble urchin. Was wondering how high I can take my pH. pH range is 8.34 to 8.42. I've had it 8.4 to 8.5 without issue. I don't think I'd want to go above 8.5, but I think 8.4 is still fine.
I think 8.6 is when you start having weird chemical reactions start to happen where it's detrimental to the coral. So under 8.6 is good.
Yeah.
Why does that happen, Brandy? Is that something to do with carbonate?
Of course, you're going to ask me, and I don't remember off the top of my head.
All right, this one.
It makes some reaction. I don't know if it's carbonate. Someone in the chat might know, but there's some chemical reaction that instead of the corals collecting whatever the chemical is, it starts coming out. Just like when you have a lower pH, like acidic pH, it starts to melt the coral. Too high, then something weird is happening.
Okay. Good to know. So 8.6 too high, 8.4 something still okay.
I learned that from Craig Bingman, but I forget why he said 8.6 was the limit.
Yeah. Okay. There you go, Jay. I have a long spine blue spot urchin that will not touch hair algae. Every other type of algae, bubble algae, bropsis it attacks. So depends on the urchin.
Someone was asking, why don't you conversion Palooza, New Jersey? I think we have many times, Brandy, right?
I've been to that one.
No,
Not together, but I've been there. I saw that trip, not Brandy though. Next show, Brandy. We'll make it
Brandy
happen.
was there.
Was she?
I have never met Devin
Or
person,
maybe we have. Maybe we haven't.
and I didn't know who I was talking to.
So
That's
last
plausible.
last year I was on
Oh, man.
the fence of going to Rap Orlando, and I was like, I'm gonna sit this one out. This is after months of trying to convince Devin to come. I'm like, Devin, this. He's like, no. And then as soon as I made the decision and like closed the book on not going, I get a message one night like, hey, I'm going on the trip. You gotta be there, right? And I'm like, oh. And that would have been a good one because Kels and everyone else was there. So I still haven't forgiven you for that one, Devin.
This
It's
year,
okay.
maybe. Well, it's because I had a free
Maybe
place to
make
stay,
that
so
be
it made it more affordable. That was the tipping point. You should have been like, hey, Devin, I got an extra bed.
I told you, like, it's Orlando is. See, they each have their own.
If someone invites me to stay with them, I'm going to go.
Yes. Oh, invite everybody. It'll be a party in Oz.
But it is a suite. No, like.
Perfect,
Florida's
even
a
better.
suite. We've been to Florida. It's a suite.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's fun.
Let's do it.
Okay, there's solid potential here. This year I want to culture Fido and copepods. Is it beneficial to add Fido? Yes, it is. Fido is the base food of the ocean, basically, and it feeds your corals, it feeds your pods, basically feeds everything. When I used to culture it, I added it all the time, and the corals loved it, so I think it's beneficial. Brandy's got it something. I can feel it percolating.
I've tried
Oh.
culturing Fido and I've failed miserably every time. I don't think it's worth it for me. Like, it's one of those fun side projects that sounds like I think it's a me thing. So I have the Fido tank that I got from a friend of mine, and I think I'm just not disciplined enough to like. And this one I think worked because you don't have to sterilize anything. You do it in these bags, and then you just put half the bag or a third of the bag. So it was just the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for me because in New York or on Long Island, there's so many people that culture it that I can get it relatively cheap. I go to the shows, I get them, so it's not worth it for me. But it's the other thing is, let me just say this: I've replaced it with other fun sites. Like, I like making my own fish food, so instead of growing Fido, I'll make my own fish food and do other side projects. But it wasn't worth it. It was fun, but it wasn't worth it for me.
You need the time and the space for sure. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't hard, but it required commitment, right? Because you got it after it's, you got to split it every, 10 days or whatever, or it will crash. And when you're prepping it, you got to be super sterile, or otherwise it can crash. So there's all these like little bits of disciplines that you need to maintain in order to actually be successful with it.
I think this is Brandy's wheelhouse, right, Brandy? Algae, photo, Fido.
I've got some background with the plant side of stuff.
Just a little.
Yeah, but I've never grown Fido.
You've never?
Really?
That is shocking.
I used to culture it.
Hmm.
Back in
I don't
the
know
day.
why. I feel like
People growing it. Why would I step on their toes?
I used to culture it and then trade it to the store for credit, and it was a good way in the early days of reefing to help like get new stuff.
I have accidentally cultured it before,
Accidentally.
where my
Now-
tank turned solid green. The corals love it when that happens, but it was not an intentional thing.
Fair enough. Did you have an explosion of pods?
Oh my God, everything exploded in a good way. I was expecting the corals to be all dead when the water cleared up, and they were like, "Feed me." They
Life
loved
is
it.
good. Smorgasbord
Does
in the
it
tank.
does it make sense then to like put that stuff on like a dosing pump and dose it regularly? Is that
Yeah.
beneficial? Like get I don't know where I would get live. It doesn't matter live. Okay, couple questions here. Live versus some dry Fido you can get, not powdered, but dried liquid that you don't have to keep in a refrigerator. Does it matter?
They have this is a completely unrelated side thought, but there was I think at Easy Reefs maybe they made some kind of like a Fido-ish gel that you could put on a doser. And I did use that in the past actually. We just put it on and just dose it. Again, it's hard to say if, the dead is as good as the live, but I think there's still nutritional value to it.
There's a local woman who has her PhD with something to do with phytoplankton, and she grows a type of phytoplankton that doesn't have as thick of a cell wall.
Mm-hmm.
And she grows it in super, super, super high salinity. Um, so I feel like your question is not like just a yes or no question. I think that there's different species that's probably more like the energy in it is more readily available for the coral and stuff. Um, and I also think a lot of times one of my biggest concerns with adding phyto is the fertilizer that's in the actual liquid.
Mm-hmm.
So you see such a spike in nutrients because there's so much nutrients in that stuff. So I feel like it really depends on like where your numbers are for
So
all the stuff.
here's a devil's advocate thought. I have read things where people are saying Fido lowered the nutrients. So if you put enough Fido in your tank and your lights are helping it grow, the logistics of it absorbing your nitrates and phosphates out of your water column, that's
It
one side of
100%
it.
should.
So it could lower it, but also if it, it's full of F2 fertilizer that's not used up, you might be adding nutrients, right? So it could be potentially
Yeah,
either
that's
side.
what. So I feel like dosing it is probably not the greatest because you're basically dosing fertilizer into your tank. But if you can get it growing in your tank, it's going to be sucking up the nutrients like crazy. So I'm confusing. I don't know what the right answer is. This is what I'm saying.
All right,
Yeah.
There's too many answers.
got it.
Anecdotally, I felt my corals were very happy when I used to supplement it to the tank on a regular basis.
I think they
mean,
like it.
I think they do. So I think it's a good idea if you have a nice, easy supply of it. If you have a cheap source or you want to culture it, I do think there's benefit, especially with filter feeding corals, but I think other stuff benefits as well. And again, there is different strains, right? And certain corals, certain pods might like one strain more than another strain. So if you're hardcore, you can, do a ton of strains or,
So
that's a
Action
lot more
says his
work.
nitrates keep bottoming out. I'm like, that's a perfect reason to dose Fido every day. Like, add some fertilizer.
Yeah, exactly. TSA
Can
is
it
selling
just
different strands. I actually did a video with them last year with Truss. Truss, I think is his name from Top Shelf, and he had like a yes, that's the
Ross?
one. I think so. Truss. I think it's how you say it. Anyways, I did a video with him, and he's like super deep, hardcore into the Fido. He's the master of it.
you see that guy that looks like
His hair looks like my hair.
oh, I was gonna say he looks sort of like Doc from Back to the Future with a with the white lab coat, and he's talking
Yep.
about these different strains of like Fido. I think I saw
Yes,
that video where he's talking about
He
the
does like
yellow.
Fido.
Okay.
that's the one.
Someone says, "Beware, Aptasia loves Fido."
All corals, all anemones, all sponges,
Love
all
all
of
of them.
them love Fido.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you're overfeeding your tank, you're going to feed the good stuff and the bad stuff, right? My office tank, which is probably overfed, has a bazillion spiky worms in there. And it's because, I probably overfeed it. So it's unavoidable. You feed everything when you broadcast feed.
What other reef resolutions do y'all have?
I am trying to get better at water changes. I have done very little the past year. And over Christmas time, both of my tanks got a nice big brute container water change. Those are Christmas present. So I'm going to try and, maybe if I don't do it every month, maybe every second month to do like, a brute container water change. Or actually set up my auto water change again. Or both. We'll see. That's my goal.
I think my reef resolution is to actually make a YouTube video this year.
Ooh.
Again.
I like it.
You know, Brandy, you and me. So I actually said one of my resolution is to get back to doing it. Well, photography and videos. I'm looking to see if anyone's coming behind me. So I actually do more photography and do more videos.
People would appreciate that. You have a lot of really good information. I pick on you all the time because you're such an easy target, but you have so much good information.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. It's I think it'll be fun for me.
It'll be good.
To me. I just need to. I keep thinking about the technical aspects of it, but I always like to think of it as like it's the same conversation, Brandy, if you and I talk, or if Dev and I talk, we're just making that a little bit more formal and cleaning it up because we're not doing anything different than if we call each other. It's like, hey, you're having this problem, or did you see that, or are you running this? Did you like it? Can you compare it to this when you're making a purchase decision? Like, I don't always agree with everyone's purchase or choice of anything, but I think the information or the thought process, I like to see people's thought process behind why they make the decisions they make, and I find that interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to know why they do what they do.
Yeah. Because it's a different perspective. Like, I might think, oh, you're crazy for doing that, but then when you explain the thought process, I'm like, that makes sense. Still wouldn't do it, but that makes sense.
Yep. Atkins Nature Aquarium, a dedicated coral QT, darn red bugs. Yeah. Interceptor, I'm pretty sure, is the fix on that one. But yeah, coral quarantine is a really wise thing, especially if you're deep into the hobby. Few of us do it, but it is a wise idea.
I gave up on that. So my tank, when I first set it up, I quarantined my fish, and then it was just so much work.
Look at her. She's
Alyssa,
so sweet.
Celebrate
my best friend in my hobby.
The third super on a live stream. Thanks, Alyssa.
Oh. Thank you. There you go.
Much appreciated.
I love the Oak making all this stuff happen.
Yep. Thank you. So, you're gonna start, Brad. So you're both gonna start doing new videos this year. That's what
Brandy
I heard.
Brandy already does videos with this guy named Sam.
Yep. That guy named Fan. Yep.
Oh, sorry. Made a boo-boo. I unplugged my headphones. I say Brandy does videos with someone, named Fan.
Yep.
And with two people named Dev and O.
Yep.
A little jealous.
You should go. You should go to Fan. Fan would love to do a video with you. Are you kidding me?
I have nothing to say.
Yes, you do. You find plenty of stuff to say on my stream.
O has like the biggest imposter syndrome. Like, it's funny because whenever he's around Fan, he goes like completely dead silent. Like,
I'm listening.
He can't get words out. He gets really anxious and nervous, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's Fan." And Fan is like, "Oh, we're
starstruck.
Friends. Like, you have my phone number. Like what?"
Starstruck with your idol.
It's so funny and it's so adorable. I love it.
Thanks.
I'll join you one day. We'll go. It'll be good.
We should all go.
Tell Fan to do that.
Dan's in the chat. He's probably laughing.
Barbecue thingy again. He used to do these barbecues in the summer.
I was supposed to plan something for him, and then I never got around to doing it. But
you were pregnant?
No, we were going to do something this fall, and then just things kept coming up, and it didn't work. But he is wanting to do something again. He just I think I have a file that says Than's potential party, but instead of potential, I shortened it to pot because I thought it was a name like Than's pot party. He's like, what?
When your husband saw that file, what did he think?
I don't know that he's seen it. It's in like the Tidal Gardens Dropbox folder where all the employees can see it.
And did anyone think that was funny?
Like, what? I think I was the only one who laughed at it, and maybe you just now.
So everyone thought that was normal, just like, hey.
Just another day.
I think they saw that I created the file and nobody paid any attention. They were like, "Oh, Brandy."
Nice.
The baby is doing good. Thank you for asking, DC Reefer. Oh my God, 10 months.
He has a baby too. He has a new baby too.
We all have babies. Oh, you should have a new baby.
What?
Just get a nano instead. It's less work.
Is it less work? Is it?
That's expensive.
I think so. I say so. Overall, like, give it the odd water change. It's pretty self-sufficient. Pop on an ATO, you're good.
No, I'm finished. That part of my life is finished. I leave it up to you young people.
We're the same age as us.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
You just had a baby.
Because it doesn't mean I'm not old, and Dev's not old. All three of us are old. Oh,
Happens to the best of us. Required dress for Than's party. Probably,
I will tell you, Brandy, I am really enjoying the fact that we can travel without having to, think of childcare for little babies. So yeah, DC, no more babies.
it was a joke. I wanted to see your eyes explode when I said it, and you did not disappoint.
Finished. You're done.
All right. So, any other more resolutions now that you're done? What else are you going to change this year?
Other than my aquascape.
That's it.
And I don't know. I think. Ooh, that is a good one. Listen, I definitely want to do more shows. I want to go to more shows, but more of the smaller shows. Like, I think what I've realized is that in and around New York City, there's a lot of small regional shows. There's a Long Island Reefer meeting. There's the one in Connecticut. So there's a lot smaller shows. So I want to go to some of these regional shows. Check out, Reeferpalooza, we've done that. But do a little bit more of those reef. Like, there's shows in New Jersey, so I want to check a few of those out. They don't require any planning. It's just a day trip somewhere. Like Philadelphia is a day trip on the train. Like New Jersey. The last time I couldn't, I promised Lakeside Reefer that I would make it to his in New Jersey, and I didn't. But yeah, do more of those. Mm-hmm.
Come to the Aquatic Expo in Charlotte.
The Aquatic Expo. Is that the one that was in New York?
No, in Charlotte, the IMC.
Yeah.
He's Googling it like I am not telling him about it.
Like, it's the first time you heard
one?
it.
Oh.
Like, oh, wait, is that the one in Charlotte?
I think I know where you're talking. No, because whenever I feel like you and I have had this conversation 10 times where I'm always mixing it up, with, there was an Aquatic Expo that was in Chicago for a while and then moved to New York and is now defunct. So, yeah, I'm always mixing it up with that. I
think getting to more shows this year would be great. I'm hoping that maybe I could even make it to InterZoo this year. That would be amazing, doing an international one.
That'd be cool.
As far as resolutions, I feel like I don't want to call anything a resolution, though, because I feel like that just means it's something I'm not going to do. Like quitting week or quitting day, like Friday, right? That's the last time I do it this year. But I have so many projects that, like, this tank is going to be in that room in the next couple of months. I'm getting a stand that's shorter for it so that I keep harping on how I can't reach the tank. And I have a big sump already ordered 47 inches, and it's beautiful. It's all lit up. It's Hamali. Is that how you say it? I have no idea how
Yeah,
to say
that's
it.
the Australian brand. Yeah.
And so it's sitting in there ready to go.
Nice.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm hoping like the sump is going to be a showpiece in and of itself too. Like that's one of my not resolutions, my projects for this year, really. Yeah. Make it where it's easy to maintain. If I need to change out wires, I'm not having to like undo everything and untangle stuff so that I can change a dosing line or add a dosing line. I just want it to be very clean and
Nice.
easy to reach.
I feel like you're making fun
Good
of me.
goals.
Because everything you just said, I am not good at. So thank you.
I'm not good at it. That's the reason why I have all this stuff. This is not about you. Oh, this is about me.
No, I have a couple of questions about what you just said. The level the tank is at now, I understand that it's. I just always maybe because I'm tall, I always envision like I would love taller stands because it's right in my viewing angle, and it gives me more space to work under when I need to bend under and work under. That's not a benefit to you versus having, especially at Peninsula when you can go on both sides. That's not you don't consider that a benefit? The taller stand, I mean.
Well, my tank is taller than my head right now. Maybe not taller than my head. Can y'all see me if I stand next to it? Like it's...
Oh,
that's a bugger to maintain. Okay. My advice, if you're ever changing your stand, measure your armpit height, and that should be the top of your glass. Like subtract your tank from your armpit, and that way your stand, because then you can actually like reach it without having to stand on ladders and stuff. Oh yeah.
It would be like a foot shorter or more. Like it's.
Brandy, how tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
Are
Okay.
you? I guess 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
I normally wear high heels.
Oh.
Okay. But yeah, so it if it's a pain to maintain and do stuff, you're not going to do it, especially while pregnant. So that's completely understandable.
Yeah, like I'm like it's above the water line is above my eyesight, so it's very difficult to try and do anything in the tank. I have to pull out a ladder every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know Mark Mila's Reef, how he has this little walkboard thing? You need one of those in your tank to go and have your little like runway.
That thing looks every time I see that, I'm like, oh, that should be a standard.
I find it. You know what? I'm agreeing with you. Like that is. I just think how annoying it would be. Like things would happen, and I just be so annoyed to move it. Like, that thing. I don't want to pop out the ladder, climb up the ladder, reach my hand in, probably get my shirt wet. I love now when because we're tall people here, so both my wife and my oldest son can just pull up your shirt sleeve and just, and you reach the bottom.
Your spouse doesn't understand any of this.
Also for a woman, like I'm not little. 5'6" is above average.
Oh, and I are both tall.
Imagine like women though that are normal, like 5'4", 5'3", like that's their top of their head is like here, right? I'm like, it's impossible to keep these reef tanks. They're not made for women. There should be a women's edition.
Just comes with a set of like giant like stiletto platform. Here's your maintenance shoes.
Reefing and heels.
That's what it started.
That was a thing.
It wasn't just for Luxus, so you can reach stuff.
I get it. I got it. It just makes you not want to do stuff because it's like, oh, I got to do this. So when a coral falls or something, or a snail dies, or something you need to do, it's just an extra thing you have to think about instead of just reaching in.
Mm-hmm.
My tank is a water box tank, so it's metric. I think it might be 25 or 26 inches tall.
Yours is probably the same as mine then.
Probably. Do you have the water box 650?
7225.
Oh. This is the Peninsula, so
Mine too.
I don't know. I thought I had not water box, Red Sea.
Oh, okay, I had the water box version. But yours is a 5-foot tank, right? Or is it 6?
6.5, I think.
Okay, they're probably pretty similar then.
Yeah, it's
Six and a
slightly bigger.
half? What?
Like 6'4.2" or something.
Ah, okay,
Like
okay,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like
Just bugging.
not it's nowhere near like our weird American system. But
It is 6,000
24
millimeters.
inches high. The tank is 24. The Red Sea 650. That's about the same size as mine. It's just that it is tall.
it's
The
a
four
40 span. I'm not sure, right, because I feel like I've measured it before and it was more than 24. Maybe it's 24 inches in the water, but then there's the glass underneath. I don't know.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says, yep. My original tank that I broke was 20 inches high, and it was the perfect size. And then when I reordered, I got 24 inches. That
How'd you
four
break it?
inches, um, I was bringing it. The gist of the story, the shortened version is, I went to get a tank, and we were bringing it in the apartment, and I had some experienced people helping me. So we took it off a balcony down some stairs with people who had experience moving tanks, and they made it look easy. So they had to leave. So the three people who were left to bring in the tank from the truck into the apartment were the three people who had never moved a tank before. So what did we do? Put it on the dolly, push the dolly, the tank tip, ching, and the tank. When I was
Dang.
getting the replacement, and I had another person who was used to moving tanks, the process was so different. He was like, "Don't do that. Do this. Do this." So I just needed someone with experience there, and it would have been like an entirely different process. But that 4 inches made a big difference in how I perceived the tank, how tall it was. It was a big difference.
I have a random question.
Sorry.
Being in an apartment, are you allowed to have a big tank, or you have to be like sneak it in there?
Well,
Or is
super
it like
helped
not
with it,
stated, so you're just like, don't ask, nobody knows?
So the super helped me move it in.
Oh, good guy. Perfect. I was just curious.
Where does your tank fall on you on your body?
Me?
I'm taller than the tank. Oh, Dev or me?
Both of y'all, actually. I'm curious now because I'm going to spend a fortune on this new stand.
Probably my chest, my stomach.
It's like your chest,
Yeah, I
under your
count.
armpit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice.
It will. It will be nice.
When you sit, perfect viewing pane, and then at the top you look over it. I like the top-down view. I really do like the top-down view. So I think that's why I said I don't think I would ever go over 24 inches again and keep it low, because it's an entirely, like, looking at corals and clams from the top down. I'm always surprised when I have about 4 or 5 Chlamydia clams, and when I look down at it and then look at it from the side, totally different. They look so much better top down.
Yeah, they're amazing. I love clams too.
Ah, clams.
So that's my biggest project this year. Is the tank's going to get moved? It's going to be on a shorter stand. Everything's going to be within reach, so
That'll be
that
nice.
I can actually work on the tank. And I feel like that's going to be like a huge upgrade for me.
100%.
I have another resolution. My tank is no. This is probably the biggest one. This gets bumped to the top of the list. My tank is a little unfinished. The stand, because it needs to be not sanded but just painted. And I said when I was finished, I would, because it's sitting on styrofoam in between the tank and the stand and the white styrofoam. It's time for me to finish. Now that I'm finished stocking, I think it's time for me to polish the outside. So I took the doors off because I didn't like them. So it's just time for me to make the outside pretty, essentially, like finish the stand.
Aesthetics.
Yeah. So now that everything is finished, now that I'm finished stocking, I think it's time to just finish the outside and make it complete, because it just looks like a working tank, like a work in progress.
So I feel like this has come up in the chat a couple of times. People asking how important it is that your partner is supportive of the hobby.
Ooh.
Who wants to go first?
I think it's important. Your partner doesn't need to be in the hobby, but do they need to support the madness? I, you know what? I'm surprised how much my wife is attentive. Like, I wouldn't say she's in the hobby with me, but after a few months, she'd be like, "You think I didn't know you took that wrasse out, or I don't see the wrasse anymore?" Like, she'll be the person who will notify me, who will tell me that, over the last 6 months, you've cleared out all the euphilia. Now the tank is like a hard coral tank. Like, but she won't say it the minute I move one. She'll just tell me when the trend is over. So my wife is not in the hobby, I wouldn't say, but she does pay attention, and she does keep me on my toes.
Yeah.
For me, I think in general, this is going to be a huge blanket statement, but I think in general, women have a harder time starting and maintaining hobbies than men. And so for me, like, this is my hobby. I don't want my husband to be involved with it. And also part of that is because when I go places with him, and O can attest to this, people like him more than me. So I
he's much nicer than Brandy is.
um,
I will text him happy birthday. He's my, he's. I like Matt. In fact, I'm gonna text Matt.
When I go to shows and stuff, like the people before they knew me, they would talk to him instead of me, and they'd be like, "Nope, talk to her," and like he would step backwards, and they would step towards him again. So that's another aspect. Like, as far as, like, I don't want him in the hobby because then I get ignored. He's showing the text messages with my husband. Thanks, though. Everybody loves him. He's amazing. But I do think it's important that he's okay with me spending as much time doing this, because if he wasn't okay with that, then is it doing this every time I do it thumbs up, like, automatically? Or are you doing that, Dev?
Oh!
It's doing it automatically. AI.
Yeah. Fancy.
And I think it's important that your spouse be okay with you spending whatever time you're spending on any kind of hobby, because that's taking away from your family time.
True. For like my wife likes the tank, but she's not a reefer. She doesn't like if my tank does random alarms in the middle of the night. That doesn't go over well. Or when I'm gone. They usually don't happen when I'm home. They happen when I'm not home. So something's like beeping. Like the Toonsy ATO alarms probably got me in trouble many times. So it's like beep. One of these days I'm going to like cut that speaker wire. So, I think overall it's good to be supportive. And I think one of the keys to being supportive is not leaving all your reefing stuff all over the place and actually like tidying up after. And, keeping your tank looking pristine and nice. So it's, living art in your house and not an eyesore. I think that goes a long way of keeping a happy significant other.
Said my wife only likes the tank when it's pretty. I only like my tank when it's pretty. So
that's true. If your tank,
my wife.
Oh,
it's all you, Devin.
If my tank is pretty, I'm definitely happier. If it looks like crap, I'm like, brr. Do you guys? Is this a trend with you guys too? I'm just curious if it goes around.
It is true, but I think we're our own worst critics, because whenever I see Greg's tank, like, so the last couple of years I've been to California, seen Greg's tank in person, and before I even go see the tank in person, he starts rattling off all these things that are wrong with it. And when I get to the house, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, but he only sees what do you call them? He only sees the negatives. He cannot, I'm not saying, listen, Greg is master reefer, doesn't he? But he focuses on the little things that are not going well versus the 90% of the things. That's just, I think we're all like that with our tanks. Like, you might look at it and say, oh, Aptasia everywhere. But I look at it and it's like, dude, like, this is grown in to some extent. So we tend to focus on the negatives on our own tanks. We're more critical of our own tanks versus someone else's.
Agreed.
I feel like I don't care when mine's looking bad. Because I don't know why I don't care. Um,
It is true though. We are more critical. Like, as I was at two
true,
different
yeah.
reefers' houses in the past week, and I was like, "Yo, we should film a tank video." And they're like, "No, no, it's looking terrible right now." And I'm like, "I'm like, what are you talking about? Your tank looks great right now." He's like, "Oh, I guess it's actually not that bad." It's like, we're always more critical on ourselves. Always.
Like that was the biggest thing. The first time I went to Tidal Gardens, I was just in shock because everything was gorgeous. And I'm standing there like staring at stuff, and Than's like, "You're looking at all the vermitids, aren't you?" And I'm, what? There's vermitids?
Like, I didn't even notice one. And he's like, there's like this beautiful tank, and his eyes are like laser focus on this one.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? I was like, I can't even find one now that I'm looking for one. I but I do that about my house too. Like I will spend all day cleaning, and then someone will come over, and I'm like, oh, ignore the mess because all I'm still seeing is the stuff I haven't gotten to, and they're like, it's spotless. I'm like,
Hmm.
That keeps us honest though, because my wife will keep me honest with like, hey, because she's the one that said, hey, I think you're finished with this tank. Now it's time. Where's the doors? Where's the finishing touches on it? So they do, even though they're not in the hobby, I think they keep us. Listen, this obsession with quiet, and in fact, one of the reasons I started rolling back from automation is I went on a business trip. So at one point, I had everything running on my Apex. Like my Apex was responsible for ramping my pumps up and down, and I was on a business trip, and the Apex went down. Now, nothing on the tank worked because it was responsible for doing everything for the pump running. That was not a great conversation
You
to
didn't
have
do
with
your
your wife,
fallback
where
statements?
it wasn't fault like the gyres at the time with the gyre interface, like nothing
Yeah.
worked. So that was not fun to have my wife be running cables, go dig in this box of random other 100 wires, find the gyre controller, disconnect them, connect them back to their original controller, and then like the return pump wasn't running. So we all know when we turn off our return pumps, the house starts to smell fishy a little bit. I don't know, that wasn't a fun conversation to have, and I will never put her in that position again. So I kind of rethought the way I reef after that. So she keeps me honest, is what I want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Sammy 31D said that he had a buddy who wanted to start a nano tank, but the wife wasn't on board. They said make it a couple hobby. I think that's a lot of times like the big thing, right? Is like, is this something that's taking away from your already, in my family anyway, time is like the most limited thing. So is this something taking away from the already limited time you have together, or is it something that's gonna like add time that y'all are working on something together? And if it's a point of conversation, like you said it is with you and your wife, and I'm sure you and your wife talk about it all the time, Dev. She painted the beautiful mural in the baby's room. So
It's all underwater reef too.
yeah.
So it's
Like,
sucked in a little bit.
I know it's gorgeous too. It's
Thank
fancy.
you.
I think that's like the thing people miss. It's like, what is this taking away time that's already limited, or do you have time to be taken away?
It's true. It's true. I used to talk about my tanks with her like far too much, and then she would get sick of hearing about them. And now I toned it way down, and just periodically it is better. So it's like all is well in moderation, like most things in life.
But I do like, again, because my wife keeps me, I do like that I have to, she helps me hone my sort of, I want to say arguments with myself, because I need to sort of convince her. Like I might tell Brandy, oh, I want to do like that entire thing about the rock. I needed to convince my wife, like, babes, it's been a year and a half, and we're 6 inches away from the surface. Like, we really need to do something here, because next year they're going to be growing out the water. And
You could
she
just
asked
prune
some
your
questions.
corals.
She's like, yeah, well, that's what she said. And then I'm like, I thought we wanted big colonies this time and not a bunch of frags. And she's like, why don't you cut the rock? And I was like, do you really want me with an articulating saw in the glass tank cutting it? And after a while, like,
Oh,
she didn't.
cut them halfway down and then just glue it on the rock beside the colony, and the colony will become wider.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't mention is, because of the way, so I have aqua roche rock and I like it. The other thing is the surface area. There's not a lot of surface area to mount things. So because I'm going to replace it with Marco, that's a little bit more flat, I actually, not only is the stuff growing up, I've run out of vertical horizontal, whatever. I've run out of surface area to mount stuff.
I took my aqua roche rock out, that arch too. I still like all of the rest of it's aqua roche, but it's the ones with the pins. But the big arch I took out too because it's too vertical without spaces to put stuff, and then too tall for my tank.
I should have. Why didn't I call you first? That would have been like the thing to say without giving. Yeah, but that's what it is. There's not enough space, and again, yeah.
I don't think that arch is meant for coral tanks. It's just it doesn't have the real estate for coral.
It look. You know what, Brandy? It looked really good when the tank was empty because it was full.
Dude, I have the same one. Actually, I think I have the one that's taller than yours.
Barry Goss Sr. He is a mentioning that his wife doesn't trust him with power. Barry.
She's talking about you. I wouldn't trust myself with power tools inside of a full live tank.
Hey,
That's
when you've
sketchy.
never done it or you don't know anything about power tools, you think you can do it. Hey, before I started reefing,
Wait, are you talking about using a power tool on the rock inside the tank?
Yes, he was.
No.
That's a terrible idea. Pull the rock out.
Sketchy.
Oh,
Dedicated Reefer, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Yeah, just think if a chunk of rock was to fling off and hit your glass and crack, and what a nightmare that would be. Not worth the risk.
I'm just thinking vibration even, like...
See, that's why I need you guys. You guys think of the stuff I don't think about. I'm thinking I'm going to go in with like a...
Does to the sealant on the edges?
I'm thinking I'm going to go in with like the thing that he used to cut like trees and go and just go in and with like a chainsaw, and it'll be 5 minutes ago.
If you do that,
Huh?
You're going to break another tank if you do that,
Why do you keep using another? Like it's...
You just told us a story about it.
Of breaking that tank.
Yes. I was going to do some variation with that. I even ordered the tool, and I canceled.
On a very unrelated
What's y'all's opinions on virtually... Oh, sorry.
Oh, I got something new to play with.
What is that?
Remember how we were talking a week or two ago about like the other lens kit for the Radions?
Like narrow lens kits
that you wanted me to test out before you bought them?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try them out.
So I had these awesome light shades that stopped light spillage in my living room.
Would you like me to go get them for you? I'll go get them.
You have them?
Do I? Don't I?
And because I got the blades, they didn't fit anymore. So I have the blades on the side. They didn't fit anymore. Oh, they did a really good job of...
That is one beefy light shade.
These were yours, right? You sent them to me.
Oh, I did? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like, literally, these were the ones that were on your tank.
Oh.
And it fit into my canopy thing.
It doesn't fit? Damn. I know. They're cool, though, because they kept the light spillage down, and that's why I'm really excited about those Radion narrow lens, because you can see the blue behind me. That's a lot of lights. Like, look, it's on the back of my chair. That's not facing
Now
the
I
tank.
want these. How much do they cut down the width by?
From 120 to 80 degrees.
It's a big chunk. Like, okay, I'll give you the spiel, because after the stream, Owen and I were chatting about this. I think it was after the stream. So basically, yeah, so it is like a massive difference. You're basically taking the par from this down to like that. So it's a pretty big difference. You're going to have more par, more condensed. So my initial thoughts before I even tried them is I'm going to assume, one, you're probably going to get double the par out of it because you're condensing that 180 down to, a much narrower angle, which is good for reducing spill out of the tank. Potentially good for less algae on the glass because there's less light hitting it. But the con of it is you'll have less of a blanket of light wrapping around the coral. So you might, have more shadowing on the underside where you're getting more light and par hitting it from all the reflections off the glass on the super wide angle kit. So it'll be less light spill, which is good to keep more light in the tank. But again, big colonies, it might be a little bit of an issue of less light underneath. Now, if you're like, I think they're mainly designed for people like coral farms and stuff where your lights are really high, because then you have lots of room to get in your tank and do stuff. But I mean, so, 1+, you can turn them down and take less power and get the same amount of par. But the con, less spread, less reflection, less wrap around the coral. So it's a trade-off, right? But
I might try that. Whenever I move this tank, I want to keep the lights still pretty high, like kind of where they are. That way I can work in the tank still.
I think it'll work. And Brandy, the thing that surprised me about it is they're only $20. Like you would think
they're
something.
cheap.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked at the price. $20. I couldn't believe it. I thought there was like a mistake somewhere, but $20. I like it.
Yeah.
So Sammy D saying earlier about lights, what's y'all's opinions on virtually eliminating white speck from LEDs?
What do you mean white speck?
White spectrum, like white
spectrum.
The LEDs. I've been farming corals for a while now with great success and a lot less algae. I think it's worth investing on a more sign. It ended.
Okay. Okay. So white spectrum, I'm going to assume he says. So for me personally, if you have an LPS heavy tank, you're fine without it. Corals obviously pop more in the blue spectrum. I personally feel the whiter, fuller spectrum is better for growing acros. I think that fuller spectrum, plus you get a little more light intensity punch out of it, is better for acros. So I think an LPS tank, you can get away with it. Zoa tank stuff, you're fine. If you're acros, personally, I think, at least a couple hours of your day have that fuller spectrum has a lot of benefits. What you got, Brandy? You're itching.
No, I was responding on my phone.
Fair. Okay. So that's how I see with the whites. Fish look crappy without whites. Yeah, it depends on the fish. Like, at least with the Radions, I can't speak for every fixture, but with the Radion Pros, you can get a really nice, crisp, look out of your tank with the whites. Can still have pop, which I think looks really good. So, if anyone uses my schedule, mine starts very blue heavy, and it gets whiter throughout the day. Then you have 3 or 4 hours of that crispy whitish, and it goes back to the blues. So you kind of get both. And I personally feel that is better for coral growth. And I like the crispy look as well as the blue look. So it's kind of best of both worlds. Depends when you look at the tank.
Yeah, I think I do the same thing. I know I do the same thing. I go very white during the day because my tank is in the middle of my living room and kitchen, and the blue light drives me insane all day. But I think if it wasn't in the middle of my house, I think I would keep it more blue.
Mm-hmm.
But the white, it's a lot easier to take pictures when I turn the lights more white.
Yeah.
I have a on the Mobius that has more white in it to take pictures. But I don't know that it matters that terribly. I think the more spectrum you have, the more photosynthetic pigments you're going to pull out of the coral, and you're going to get probably a variety of colors unless they cover each other up. Another question I don't have an answer to.
I think white means a little bit different to each of us, but for me, I don't like the royal blue, overly blue look because I like a little bit of red. I like red corals. I like yellow. I like a little bit of blue corals. And they don't pop when you have, they just look like blue blobs. So I do have some red SPS that I like. And so at the minimum, 1 hour during the day and now before, I will run a lot of royal blue and just blue. But whatever the default AB spectrum is with whenever I run that or a little bit whiter.
Yeah.
During the day, I just want to, there's some point during the day where I just want to see everything. And you're right, Anthias, if you're too blue, you don't see them. If there's certain fish you don't see.
But the flame hawks.
I have red corals.
Yeah,
I like red corals. I like a little yellow. and you don't see them when you just are blue.
Yep. John Wright. I recently acquired 2 Radion G6 blues for my 3-foot tank. Have them set AB+. Is that a good one? Yeah, AB+ is tried and true. It's a very solid spectrum. Patrick from Reef Wholesale is one of the ones that helped develop that. And yeah, it's bazillions of people use that one. It's a good one.
We so I actually have my my big ones are the pros, so they run wider, and then the smaller ones are the blues. And I intentionally have my XR30s even more white during the day, and then
Oh,
I think the blue ones I think I just have on an AB plus or whatever. So
nice. Okay, so that is radon. So I was wondering what kind of lights you're running.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's two XR30 Gen 5s and three XR15 Gen 6s that are blue.
Did you already have them, or did you add on to them? Like just because you're mixing it and going back and forth.
So I bought the Gen 5s when I bought this tank.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jay sent me the XR30s, the XR15s
Yeah.
before they came out.
Oh, that's funny.
I was
Yeah.
supposed to make a video on them, but I never got to that. Sorry, Jay. Love you. But I love the setup. I love how I was like just doing all this stuff. Let's see what this does. Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, so I love having the mixture, and I have them
That's
set
fair.
on two different groups because otherwise the
the same?
pros turn blue. Yeah. So I have them as a group with the XR15s and a group with the XR30s, so that way they can.
Okay. If
sorry.
you had,
I'm sorry.
if you only had one, would you pick the pro or the blue?
I think the pro.
Blue.
Okay. What about you? Will?
Because I think I run it more. To me, I run it more towards the blue, so that's why I would choose it. And but I got no fights with y'all. Like blue, white.
I like having the extra options with the pro.
Yeah.
Like
You turn down. I can get to what you're doing by turning my blues down. I think it's both sides of the same thing. But I tend to when I look at what I run my tank. The reason I say blue is when I look at what I run my tank, it's closer to AB plus than to what you guys, and that's why I choose it. But I can still, for the most part, with some effort, tune it to the white to get the pictures. But
If
I
you're
think when I get it moved to the other room, I'm going to run it a lot bluer.
if you're only running your lights at say 50%, like either one's fine. You can get very similar with either looks, right? If you're running at 100% all out, then you have more potential par in that color range that you're getting overall. Like the pros, I find you get a little more color addition because they have a little bit more diverse color range of LEDs over the blues. But again, if you're only running it halfway there, you can get looking pretty similar.
Like visually on clams from the pros because the clams need that green and red spectrums. Not like to bring out the color, but just so you can visually see it. You need that color reflected back into your eye to get everything that's going on a clam. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's actually another good reason too for the whites and stuff, because you will see more colors than you would under the other. You might have more black light party. No. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I thought you were finished. I have a question. It's something that Barry Goss said. Do you remember when you had G4s? Like the Pro actually meant something because there were more LEDs. So do you think? Because I think I've heard people say the Pro, and I think for the Gen 5 and Gen 6. The Pro versus blue is just about the mix of LEDs. You have more white LEDs versus I have more blue LEDs. There's no feature set that's different. I think that was the Gen 4 where a Pro versus a regular Radeon, there were actually different features. There were more LEDs, there were more options, more features.
I don't know, but I know my Gen 4 that I still have sitting in a box somewhere, I still prefer that color to either one of these.
Is it the cyan?
I love that color.
I got used to the cyan where I like it now. I actually like a Gen 5 LED mix versus the Gen 6.
Gen 4 is my favorite light ever. Like just visually, I think Gen 4 is the prettiest of all the brands, all the different things.
Yep. Classics.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nostalgia.
All preference, right?
Yeah.
All depends. I mean, at the end of the day, the funny thing is, like, most things are gonna look awesome, and if you didn't see them side by side, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. For the average person, I'm gonna say, like, I like because I had a mix of the pro blue, pro blue, pro blue, and I had them looking pretty much the same. And if you couldn't see the slight differences of staring at the LEDs, you wouldn't really know the difference. Kessel shimmer
Yep.
for the. I've never used Kessels, to be honest.
Oh my gosh, that I have to say Kessel has a soft spot in my heart because that is the shimmer still reminds me of like going to the beach in the Caribbean, like seeing that shimmer. Nothing reminds me. As I've gotten older, that shimmer starts to get on my nerves. So I cannot use no, it's an old like I'm just getting old and my eyes can't deal with the blue. Like towards the end of the day, if you put the blues on, that shimmer would the shimmer just goes nuts. I used to love it. I used to love it. So I'm sorry, unless I'm using Kessel with something to really mute the
Mm-hmm.
shimmer, I can't deal with Kessels anymore. Like the Nano, one of the reasons the Nano isn't up yet that I spoke to you about, the one that this box, is because all I have is a Kessel A80, and I turned that bad boy on with the water, and it gave me a headache. So I can't
Well,
even use it
that's
on a
why
Interesting.
Nano.
it's blue all day
Huh.
because I'm in my living room and kitchen and like I'm in this area all day and the blue starts to give me a headache too. But I think if it was in another room, I would have a Kessel on this tank. I think I like the shimmer, but not I don't it's like I like going out to a club, but I don't want to live in a club.
That's
When I
fair.
went to Jamaica in October and I went to the beach and you're sitting there long, during the day and I'm on the beach and you see like the shimmer lines going, I'm like, that's a Kessel. That's a Kessel. That's what my mind said. That is a
Yeah.
Kessel. We're just living in a Kessel. That's what
That's
I
a
thought. Like the
single
sun is
point
a
of flight.
Kessel. Yeah, but
Yeah.
could I deal with that all day? I don't think so. Not in my living room.
Starts to like make me itch. It's like
Yeah. Hey, Lewis, Reef Exotico by Lewis. I think you'll like it. It's a me thing. It's just a me thing. I think that's a me thing. But if I was balancing it with T5s or something, I could absolutely deal with it. I've gone somewhere where the last time I used Kessels, I balanced it with T5s. And also,
Yeah, that
because I
makes
have an
sense.
SPS
Tones it
tank,
down.
I have a lot of surface agitation. The surface agitation makes it worse.
and Lewis, I think it also depends. Are you working right in front of your tank all day like O is?
Mm,
O works from home,
True.
so he's right there in front of his tank all day.
mm,
Yeah. Sammy, I
mm.
don't like Castle. Shimmer is great, but can never pull color and growth out of them like I do with other lights. Well, part of me thinks if you have the Castle, you need multiples to get the spread right because it's such a tiny light source going down, which gives you more dramatic visuals. But again, corals like more of the blanket of light.
It'll
I
work well when you have
So
frags. Once those
yeah,
frags start to grow, it
I
doesn't
think you
work
would need a
well.
couple of them to in order for the light to wrap around the coral more.
my
Uh,
my LFS grows coral really well, and they have all Kessel, and they
yeah.
look great. But they're constantly fragging them too, right? Because they're
Hmm.
growing them to sell them. They're not growing them to display them. But they can grow coral, obviously, because they
Yeah.
do.
I think most lights can grow coral, honestly. And most things can grow coral now, right? It's a lot of it comes down to like the experience and the color rendition and muted versus chaotic shimmer and caustics. It's all these little things that I think it sort of goes into.
Um, I had a, I always, I have a house and have a basement. Like I wanted a look down tank. And I
Yeah.
would absolutely put those, because I did it once where I had like a lagoon tank. And then I put the Kessel 5 feet up in the air and put the really narrow lens on it. I would love that because they're not looking at any lights. So you would
Hmm.
have all these Kessels hanging. Um, Um, and just I would like that. Also, the Kessels so Kessels give you a 2 year warranty. I did not know that once until I had to call, and they said, "No, sir, you get a 2 year warranty." I don't think that's said enough.
How long
Which
did you think it was?
a year, like a standard year, than everyone said.
Yeah.
So again, Kessel has good customer support, which is something that's not said. Like there is a person who answers the phone when you call Kessel support in California. That's
Hmm.
not said enough. So I just think I'm Radeon. I like Radeon, but Kessel, and it's a good value now. When the current version of lights came out, they were more expensive than Radeons and other lights because they were $450 and it didn't come with a controller. But now with everyone else increasing their prices, and I think Kessel will stay the same, it's a better value than it did when it first came out.
That's fair. If I was to ever do
Let me see what the
Kessel,
price is now for A360X. Yeah.
I don't know where they sell them, but I've seen ones that can run on a track light and that you'd be like super high up. If I was to ever do it, I would have them like on a track light on the roof, crazy high up. If you're gonna go all out for that point source, you might as well go all out, and then have it super high up so there's like nothing above the tank, just like up on the roof. That's what I would do if I ever did it, but like super duper high.
And you have the narrow reflector, so you can aim it. Brandy, I think you're muted. You have these narrow reflectors, so you can put them up and have them aim down, and just put a bunch of them together. Like, that's a good look. I've done it before for a single, but it's a good look.
I think I'm going to have my lights way high whenever I move the tank to the other room too. I think getting it out of the eye line completely would be amazing, and I might add some Kessels.
I don't know. Be interesting to see the mix. We'll see. I don't know. For normal mounting though, I prefer Radeons. But if you're gonna go super crazy high and do the narrow lens, I think that has some potential to be cool.
Maybe I'll have Kessel come on for like 2 hours a day or something, just to get like some shimmer like at night.
To get your chaos shimmer dive in the Dominican fix.
I would absolutely do Kessels and have them come on super white during the day for that daylight shimmer. It's once they get blue, I like my tank blue to see the fluorescence at night. And once it starts to go blue, that Kessel shimmer gives me a headache. But during the day, so Brandy, that's if I had a canopy and I could hide, I had a mishmash of light, I would absolutely put Kessels on and put them on super white to give me that, you're at the beach and like the daylight, the shimmer lines are just like, like they're just dancing.
Okay, so you need to do like a lagoon tank with a mangrove and then get the white version of the Kessel super high up for the mangrove. And then you have your white daytime mangrove sun thing, and then you have your regular bluish lights for all the corals.
You sound like you've thought about this.
So good that I don't have more space for tanks. Because do you know how many tanks I would have in my house if I had more space?
Who's stopping you, Brandy?
Me, because I don't want to live in a fish store. My own aesthetic preferences. God, that sounds gorgeous, Dev.
Yeah, the stuff that's in my mind, but you need the right space and the right tank to pull it off.
My LFS, I wish I had a picture of the aquarium shop in Long Island. That's Mike and Christian, Brandy. They've done exactly that. They're using the Illumagic lights, and it's a big open lagoon tank and a big overflow in the middle. They stuck like one of Julian's mangroves in the middle, and they literally have 4 of the blue light covering the corals. And then in the ceiling, I mean, it's an industrial space, so it doesn't look as nice as if it, but in the ceiling, they've mounted one of the freshwater Illumagic with the narrow reflector, so it's pointing right down, and it actually, the mangrove is looking really good and healthy, and it's growing too.
Are they growing? Do they have that directly in the saltwater?
Yeah, it's in the overflow.
One day I think I'd like to play with the mangrove again.
I want to too.
Yeah, I wanted a mangrove in a flower pot in my living room, but I got overruled.
You can just put it in water, in fresh water, and just
that's what
like
I was gonna do. That's what I was gonna do. Put it in fresh water, but again, got overruled. So
apparently they grow faster in fresh water than salt water too. That's what I hear.
They do. That's why I was asking.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. What Julian always says. He's like, if people really want them to grow, they should put them in fresh water, and then like with actual dirt.
Yeah, and then move it over one day once it's established, or just leave in fresh water. Potential there.
John Wright says, I'm worried about how many LFSs are closing down in England. I think that's everywhere. The amount of LFSs. We had a really boom period during the pandemic, but I think everything's calmed back down to reality now.
Yeah, I have a reef club that I run to, and the Facebook page, we try and limit the sales posts on it. And some of the stores have gotten really spammy with their sales posts.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder, like, if they're struggling, and that's why they're posting like 7 times a day,
Yeah.
or if they just are bored, or maybe it results in sales every time they post, and that's why they're posting. But like in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is an unusual amount of spam posts I've been seeing lately.
Yeah.
It's just bad marketing. Bad marketing. It's just bad marketing.
Agreed. Sammy, Dev, what happened to the skies you reviewed? Been kicking around a set for the water box, or more radions. It's currently lit with 3 G4 radions. Man, if you already have 3 G4s, keep those. The sky wasn't mine. I just borrowed off somebody, like a local reefer, for like a week just to play with it and get a feel for it, because I've never used one. So it was just a borrow. I had to give it back eventually.
Shumi has skies mixed with Kessels, and I have to say that look is gorgeous.
Nice.
Yes. I do not like the LED mix in the skies. I think it's too white, but you're right. Shumi does have a nice mix. I like that.
Have you ever had Shumi on before?
It's been a long time. I should lure him on again.
You should have him on. He's got some really cool things that he does.
He totally does. Yeah, I should lure him on again. I'll have him on one day.
Am I gonna? Yeah, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna hit Shumi up. It's too long. I'm gonna hit him up right now.
Shumi's Reef.
The reconnection.
But yeah, he's the first time I saw skies, I felt like the color was very dull. And then when Shumi added the Kessel to it, I'm like, this is perfect. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like I've seen his tank in person too, and it's just they balance each other very well.
Yeah. That's good. I'll have to check that out. It's been a little while since I've chatted with him. I'll have to check out his tank.
Yep. I just
Interesting.
texted Shumi. And Matt texted me back, Brandy.
See, this is why Matt's not allowed to come to things with me, because he steals all my friends.
I know how you feel.
We're still your friend, Brandy.
No, I mean,
that's funny.
very me. O likes Matt more than me. He has told me many times, but I pick on O, so
My wife
that's
came
fair.
to California, and now she's like telling me how nice Dupree is, and how nice James is, and how she likes. Yeah, but they're my friends, not her friends. That's my reefing. Like,
You deserve it. You bailed on me so quick. I was like,
that's my friends. So
Okay.
like separation of church and state. Like, these are my friends, and those are your friends. These are my reefing buddies, and those are your friends.
Can
I
I keep
want to
it
meet your
separated?
wife. I love her. I can't believe I have not met your wife.
Yeah.
I can't believe so either. Well, I can believe so.
So Than came back finally.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's going to invite everybody over.
Perfect. I need to go visit
I have
Dan one day.
purpose.
It'd be fun.
I put you on the list.
Excellent.
There's a list.
I think you have met Matt, Chris. I think you met him at the Aquatic Expo. You might not have realized that he belonged to me, but I'm fairly certain that you met him.
You didn't know he's mine, but he was there. Whoa. Fancy.
Is it? Wait, you're not doing this stuff?
No.
It's 2 fingers.
Like, party on.
Wait. No, I do it this way.
Wait, just start with 2 thumbs up. Are you on a Mac, Dev?
No, it's because I'm not piping in my camera. I'm piping in the whole stream feed for you guys so you can see what's up. So it's probably not working.
Oh, well, no. You have to be on a Mac. This is a FaceTime camera thing.
I don't know why Dev doesn't put these streams on an audible podcast. I've been talking about it for like a year. I really should just like convert it to audio to listen to these antics. Maybe that will be one of my resolutions this year, is to like, I'll just start recording the audio separately and then just like publish it as a podcast. Potential there.
Yeah, there is potential.
The funny thing is, I'm using a mixer with a giant record button that I could just push and then record a file, and it wouldn't even be that hard. So I should.
Do a video podcast, like a V podcast.
That's what this is.
You know what? You are.
We're
You know
already
what?
doing that. We're already
This was
video
like
podcasting. That's what a
earlier.
live
I was
stream
like,
is.
come to the Aquatic Expo in Charlotte. He's like, where's that? Let me look it up. And I'm
Not Charlotte. Like, I hope people didn't think I didn't know where Charlotte is. I know where Charlotte is. You know what? I need to make a trip. I need to make a trip somewhere. We've been discussing where to meet up. And I think Kells, it shouldn't be a far trip for Kells, Charlotte, right?
it's probably going to be an 8-hour drive for him.
8 hours?
Yeah, it's 4 hours to Atlanta and another 4 hours to Birmingham. So
Oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? Like, how is this country so big?
No, right?
because we stole a lot of land.
It sounds like a hop skip, and then you realize how
How quick an
far it
airplane
is,
is.
right?
It might be 2 hours to Birmingham from Atlanta, but I feel like it's 4. But
Yeah.
it might be. It's somewhere between 6 and 8 hour drive for him. But it's like straight. There's no like craziness involved.
Just drive. I need to come
2
visit one
hours,
day.
Randy.
Two. That's
2
not bad.
hours. The Atlanta Aquarium. So this is my new thing. Whenever I go to a city, I try to visit the aquarium, the Atlanta Aquarium. So my wife and I have been to. I've been to the New York Aquarium. I've been to the Atlanta Aquarium. Been to the Dallas Aquarium. Yeah. I've been to the Houston Aquarium. The Atlanta Aquarium so far is the nicest one I've been to.
Haven't
By
been to that one.
far. Oh my gosh, that is so.
We have some podcasts that nobody's ever listened to that we just never publish because we didn't want to edit. Slash have time to edit. I think we have like 2 or 3 that we recorded, didn't we?
Do we
Yeah,
still want to
there's a
publish
few.
those?
Yeah.
Maybe. We got a few. The funny thing, this is terrible, but I have probably 3 podcasts with you guys, and I think 3 or 4 with somebody else, and I have like there's like this unedited, unpublished archive of potential future stuff on that magical free time thing. Yep. All right,
Yeah.
guys. I think I'm gonna wrap up pretty quick here because it's been almost 2 hours. I don't want to keep you guys too late. I know time flies. But it is definitely fun and hopefully a good motivation for some of us to step up a bit of our reefing game this year, and for the 3 of us to meet up at a show at some point.
That would be amazing.
I know.
And hopefully we can stick to any resolutions that we make this year, since that was the theme.
You know what? Someone said have run out of date pods. I like that because then the information is so irrelevant. Like, it's almost cool.
I know, eh? Just post it up,
What'd you
no
say?
editing.
No, Barry Goss said run a series on out of date podcast. I like that with no context.
Just random audio entertainment. When you're bored, going for a drive, just listen to whatever random reefing rabbit hole we're down that day.
I hope to make it free stock this year. That was
Yeah.
a ton of last year.
You get stuff.
Chattanooga, right? It was going to be Chattanooga.
There is Chattanooga, but Luis is talking about in Denver. He makes amazing beans at a Mexican restaurant there. That's all I hear about is the beans. And he has some killer drinks.
Margaritas?
Yeah.
Give me one. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Beauty.
That's like, I'm trying to wrap it up.
All right,
no.
guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight's live stream. As always, if you did, hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Alyssa M, Dedicated Reefer, thank you guys for the super chat. Much appreciated. I wish everyone a happy, wonderful New Year's, and I will lure Brandy and Owen more often because it's always fun. Thanks, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.